Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special Toon review live here on Thursday night. As you can see, I've got Holly with me, who's decided to come on tonight and just explain what had been going on with her over the last couple of weeks on Twitter, and myself as well, because it's been a bit crazy and things have got on top of everybody, I think, over the last couple of weeks. Just before we obviously speak to Holly, now that I'm sort of talking to you direct, just with everybody watching, I'd like to apologize to you, especially for my rant on Monday. It was out of order and I shouldn't have brought you into it, but I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong, and I shouldn't have brought you into it without knowing what was actually going on. So wholeheartedly, from the bottom of my heart, apologize to you, Holly, okay? And also to Steve Wraith, I owe a big apology too, because I've spoke to him yesterday. I had a long conversation with him and cleared the air. And I have to say thank you for accepting my apology in the first place. And it's a water under the bridge now. Personally, I have never had a problem with Steve Wraith. I got dragged into something that I really shouldn't have. I know a lot of people have their ideas, or they have their own opinions on Steve himself. For me, I followed Steve for a long time. Way back before I even started a YouTube channel, I used to watch his crime stuff and things like that. I found it really interesting. And one of the things is he is a good man, what anybody else thinks of him. I'm here tonight just to say that I've had enough of the spats on Twitter or any of the podcasters. I'm friends with everybody from now, and that's how it's going to stay. I'm not going to fall out with anybody. Everybody else can fall out with who they want, but for me, I've made my peace now, and I'm still friends with everybody, and that's how I intend to keep it. I was wrong to have a rant. I was wrong for some of the things that I put on Twitter. Out of order things, and yes, other people have been responsible for that as well, but from my part, I apologize to everybody that got dragged into it. It shouldn't be about that. It's about the strip that Holly's wearing tonight. It's Newcastle United. That's who's more important. We all started these channels to talk about the clubs we love, and we all love Newcastle United. That's the way it should be. We should be the ones to all join together and talk about football in a good way, not spat with each other, because it's just stupid. So, Steve, on behalf of myself, I do apologize, and thank you very much for accepting my apology. You're a good guy, and let's just all move forward. Holly, obviously, you know, I got some messages today when people knew you were coming on, just to say they're wishing you well. John, Barry, everybody just really more so worried about you than anything else. I know from speaking to Steve that obviously Steve's looked after you, kind of thing, and I think everybody just got a shock when, you know, you stop following people and things like that, and people just genuinely worried about you, because obviously, you know, Twitter and social media and YouTube can be a difficult place at times, and you know, we found ourselves in the middle of a silly, daft little war zone over nothing really, and you know, I know you've been struggling a little bit, because you know, we spoke yesterday over text message and about sort of the anxiety you've been going through with obviously you've got exams and things like that, and speaking to my eldest daughter tonight, talking about what she went through. She had to go into sort of beta blockers when she was doing her exams, etc., because the anxiety got too much. And we all make mistakes and do things the wrong way, don't we? It just, or what we think perceive as the right way can be the wrong way sometimes, and vice versa.
100%. Like I said before, thanks for the apology, and of course I accepted that, and there's no bad feeling with you or with anyone else now, and I'm just so happy that we've all decided to come to the conclusion to all apologise to each other, admit our mistakes, and just now move on for the better. And yeah, I think a lot of us have been going through a rough patch, especially over the past year. I mean, we've all been in the same position with this COVID lockdown that no one could ever have expected. And it's turned everyone a little bit crazy, stuck inside all the time, can't see your friends, can't see your family. It's just been a totally crazy year. I mean, some people have had it worse than others. Like, I've lost someone to COVID in the lockdown who was very close to me, and it's affected people in all different kinds of ways. And like you said before, I do have a lot on personally at the moment. I've got a lot of exam stress, which is different to normal, because we aren't actually doing normal exams, for those that don't know, because obviously we've missed out a lot of work. So we are like doing mini exams and stuff, which is totally confusing for everyone, and it's stressful. But then also, I've always been open and honest about the fact that for most of my life, I have actually suffered with mental health issues. I'm not embarrassed to say that, and it's something that I never hide. Yeah, and I'm totally honest about that. And so things can just get a bit too much. And the reason why I blocked people at the time, from my point of view, was because I had so much stress in my own personal life outside of Twitter that when I was going on there, all I was seeing was negativity. So I just went on a bit of a blocking spree, and I was just blocking everyone that was linked to negative stuff. Like even if they were getting mentioned in tweets, I was just block. So I just wanted it gone so I could focus on other things, you know, and it was never anything personal. Like I blocked a lot of people, which I've now unblocked everyone. I've got nobody on my block list whatsoever. Even people that have trolled us and sent us some horrible messages, because I have had my fair share of hate over the past few days, but I don't hold that against anyone. And everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I just want to move forward now. Don't have any problems with anybody, and it was never anything personal about why I blocked people. It was just an attempt to remove negativity from my life. And was that the right way to go about things? No, it wasn't. I see that now. I've apologized, I've unblocked people, and I hope that people can forgive us for doing that, because it wasn't right.
Yeah, the thing is though, Holly, I mean, there's no right or wrong way of doing it when you're under pressure like that, because I think what people need to take into consideration is what goes on when the cameras are switched off. You know, just because we're all on here and looking at a camera thinking everything's okay, as soon as that camera goes off, the pressure will hit you again. And it was strange for me on Tuesday night, because when all this was going on and I'd had my rant, and then I'd put on, you know, stupid stuff, and made some, you know, calling like cults and things like that, which is just bloody ridiculous, to be honest. But then again, it's probably going to make Steve a bit of profit with the t-shirts, because I said to him last night that I wanted some commission for them. So but there's no right or wrong way, and I don't think anybody truly believed you were being nasty, Holly, because I've known you a good while now, and I know you're not that kind of person, you know, and other people do as well. I think it was just the surprise of it all, because it came so quickly, didn't it? You know, it was just like all these arguing and negativity. You're right about the negativity, because Tuesday night I just it was like an epiphany I had. It was just really strange. I was just sitting and I picked up my phone and I just typed in that I'd had enough. I didn't mean like I'd had enough of living or anything like that. The people were worried, and you know, I'm thankful for all the people that got in touch with me. But it was just I'd had enough of everything like this. You know, it was just, I thought, what is the point? I'm doing things that I don't even want to do here. You know, it was like, it was just everything came to me just saying, look, book your ideas up, Paul. You know, you don't actually dislike anybody. You're a decent guy. Don't go around thinking that you're having rants at people and stuff like that for reasons that are just stupid. And sort of during Wednesday, I just sort of watched some of my videos back. I looked at some of my tweets, and I'm thinking, what an absolute pillock. You know, have a serious word with yourself, you know, and that's what made me just turn around and say, look, I've had enough of this. I'm going to put things right as best I can. Got in touch with Steve, and I thought, well, if Steve doesn't want to know, that's fine, because I've, he's he knows that people make mistakes as well. He's made them. He will continue to make mistakes. I will continue to make mistakes. You will make. Everybody does, but it's how you deal with those mistakes. And I dealt with them in completely the wrong way. You know, I was turning on people that I actually respect, and you know, that's what hurt me most of all, was the fact that I was ranting about stuff that people I respect, and that hurt me on Wednesday when I was looking at it all back, and I'm thinking, you know, this is just crazy. And I guess, you know, when I was talking to you yesterday, I got the feeling that, you know, you were in exactly the same situation, that you didn't really want to block anybody. It was just that pressure you felt because of the anxiety you were going through. You had stuff going on in the background which nobody knew about, and that's worse when people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and that makes people, you know, when they're having a go at you, and then you come off camera and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, or you come off Twitter and you're just sitting there, that's when it all hits you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think doing these podcasts, a lot of people feel like they know you and they know your life story, but in
Yeah.
reality, you maybe do a few hours of content a week. That is a tiny part of your life, and nobody on here knows our lives or what we go through or really anything about us apart from our opinions on football, which is what we usually talk about. It's
Yeah.
you don't know the type of things that people are facing, and sometimes it can just get too much for everybody, and then you make silly decisions. And like I said to you off camera, I think it is just a case of everyone kind of winds each other up, and people change your opinions, and it's not what you think, but you feel pressured into thinking things because of other people. It's just so overwhelming that you just make these rash decisions and do crazy things that, and then you look back and think, why did I do that? That's not me. And of course, I think people forget that I started doing YouTube in the first place not that long ago. And the only reason I did that was because I was bored in lockdown like everyone else. Like, I've been a Newcastle fan my whole life. All I've ever known is going to the match. And I've never wanted to be a YouTuber. It's ended up being a much bigger thing than I ever thought it would be. And I've loved it, but I've also hated it in some ways. I'm still very glad that I did it. But at the moment, it's just been very, very negative. And of course, I'm going to take it back to the beginning a little bit of when all this thing started, and I'm not going to go into detail on things like this.
No, it's fine. Just you take your time.
Yeah, I'm not going to, like I said in my tweet, I'm not going to be calling anybody out because that's not what this is about. This is just literally to try and put the truth out there from my side and try and move forward. But it all began obviously with this Tommy Robinson podcast that Steve Wraith did, which some people disagreed with, and that's their opinion. They're more entitled to that. I never got involved in it. I never put my opinions out on it because I didn't feel as though it concerned me. I'm still not going to say my opinion on that interview publicly because that's just what I keep to myself. But I wasn't involved in that. What Steve Wraith does on his other podcast has nothing to do with me. That's totally his choice. And if he wants to do that, then he can. And if other people felt that was wrong, then fair enough, they stepped away from the channel. That didn't affect me. Everyone's got to do what's right for them at the end of the day. But that's where this all started. And I think in the beginning, everything went well because the girls were very respectful, Steve was, and everyone left on good terms. He wished them the best, they wished him the best. And then it seemed to like change, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what's being said, but things started getting a little bit toxic, and people resented the fact that I chose to stay there. I did get lots of accusations of supporting Tommy Robinson and being racist, which is totally not true.
I didn't realise that you'd got stuff like that thrown at you. That's terrible. That
it is. Like I said, I don't have anything to do with Tommy Robinson. That's nothing to do with me. I purely go on Steve's shows just for Newcastle United content, and you know, like it's literally, I don't support Tommy Robinson or racism, but that shouldn't be any, like, what my opinions are, that shouldn't really matter to people. I don't think people should make assumptions either. And all the girls, I do wish the best, and most of them, we are on good terms now. And if people don't like me for being on the podcast, then that's fair enough. That's their opinion. They're more entitled to that. But what I would say is just please keep that to yourself and don't put it out on social media, because I never put personal comments about anybody online ever. So please don't put them about me or anyone else, because it's not necessary. It just causes more problems.
Yeah, I mean, I was wrong to get involved, you know, and say about Tommy Robinson. You know, do I think it was the right thing to do? That's irrelevant. You know, like you've just said there, Holly, you know, Steve did his interview, and, you know, it was Steve's choice to do that. Therefore, you know, if at the end of the day, you know, do the interview, and if we don't want to watch it, it's up to us if we want to watch it or not, you know. And that's the thing. I mean, I did watch it, and personally, I thought it was handled very well. I think Tommy Robinson is an arsehole, but I think, you know, the way the interview was handled was very well. I think something was clearly wrong with the guy. You know, he was coughing and spluttering and things like that. But we all know that's the kind of person he is. Now, you know, Steve is kind of a journalist, if you like. He interviews these, you know, criminals or whatever, you know, for his podcast. And you know, when I sat and thought about it, I think, well, hang on, we don't go at the, we don't have a go at the BBC or ITV or anybody like that goes out and interviews these people, and what gives us the right to go at Steve like that, and then I thought, well, yeah, Steve, give your opinion, but it's how we word those opinions and things like that, and everybody just piled on and it got out of hand, like you say, and it shouldn't have, because at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to an opinion, but it's how you word the opinions, and including myself worded them completely wrong, which obviously caused a lot of problems for a lot of people. And I think, if we all just take a step back and look at if we could handle the things a lot differently to what they were, I think there'd be a lot more, there certainly wouldn't be the outcry that there was, because I think it's just, like you say, the girls stepped away from the channel. They have their morals which they stuck to, which is that they're entitled to do that. But you're also entitled to stay and do what you love doing, which has been on YouTube with Steve doing the shows. And that's something that people should respect. I mean, I didn't know that you'd got accusations of being a racist and things like that, because that's just ridiculous, because I know you well enough now to know that you're not that type of person ever. And a lot of people aren't. And I think it did stem from that. It all boiled over, and then people start getting into spats of it. But what really annoys me is the people that don't know and come on and put tweets out saying, oh, it's podcast wars, they're just doing it for likes and subscribers. It's nothing to do with that for me, and it never will be. Why I do this, because, I have a long-term illness. I have Parkinson's, which I fight every single day of the week, and I can't work. And this is what I love to do. It gives me a plan to follow, if you like, something to focus on. Yes, it's managed well, but I still suffer from it. But sometimes I think people don't realize, that people do this for a reason. I do it because I love my football club. I do it because I love football. And that's why I'm sitting in front of a camera doing it all the time, because I love what I do, and I get a lot of support, good support for doing it. But it's like you say, when you get thrown accusations like that, especially at your age, and I don't want to really bring your age into it, because you are young, and it's a big world out there, and you've handled yourself very, very well since you started doing YouTube, since you were doing my shows with me, you've been on John's and Steve's, you've handled yourself very well. And that shows me that you're adult enough, if you like, to do it. You know what I mean? You can handle it. But when you're getting stuff like racism thrown at you just because you're on a channel with Steve, I think is absolutely disgusting. And this is the type of thing that needs to stop. And that's why I, had a big think about things on Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, before I got in touch with yourself and Steve and things like that. I wanted to put things right, because I thought enough's enough here. We're all Newcastle fans. We're all love football. We all want to talk about Newcastle, but we're all going to have opinions, aren't we? And nobody's going to have opinions that are the same. Otherwise, what's the point?
100%. And to touch on what you said about my age thing, of course, I'm fully aware that I'm probably one of the youngest people on the Newcastle United podcast scene. But what I will say is that a lot of people choose to use my age when it suits them.
Yeah.
And the thing is some 16-year-olds, that's how old I am, if anyone doesn't know, I've always been honest about my age, so
yep.
There you go.
Most women aren't, but go on, well done.
Some 16-year-olds can be immature, and of course they can be, but what I will say is that, in my opinion, and from a lot of people that know me personally, always say that I'm quite a mature person. I can handle stuff in a proper civilized, mature way, and hence why I wanted to do this show tonight, to actually deal with things in an appropriate way instead of continuing on these spats. And I think it was a good opportunity to speak about it, because in contrast to what a lot of people have said, I have actually stayed very quiet. I haven't actually said anything, and I think I'm one of the few people that haven't. The reason that I did that is because, to be honest, I was hoping that it was all just going to blow over, and move on. But it never happened like that. It kept getting resurfaced, re-brought up, and adding fuel to the fire constantly. And so now I feel like it was the right time for me to do this show, and thanks very much, by the way, for giving us this opportunity. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. I should be thanking you, Holly, to be fair. So don't think about that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and just because like I said, it's just so many people have said things about me which are totally not true, and I don't know where they're getting this information from. I'm assuming it's things that they're just making assumptions about.
Yeah.
And it's not the truth, and I don't like seeing people say stuff about me that is so not true. I've had people personally attack my character and say things about me which is totally ridiculous. Like, they're painting me out like I'm some type of enemy in all of this, and that I've been accused of like stirring the pot and causing all these problems, when it's totally not true. I haven't really said anything, and a few people have said that my tweets have been a bit like sarcastic or whatever, and have offended people, which is never what I intended them to be. I haven't really said much, in my opinion, but if I have put something out there that's annoyed people, then I do apologise for that. That wasn't my intention. And I
seen the one tweet that got me was when you retweeted about the cult t-shirts, but that wasn't actually, that was a trigger for me in a good way, because when I saw that, I thought, right, you know, I kind of showed some people, and then I thought, well, why have I done that? You know, and then I kind of laughed and thought, it's quite funny that he's doing t-shirts about it, because that's how to react to it. You know, try and make something out of it that, you know, was just a total stupid thing to say. And but for me, you know, when I actually sat and I looked at it and I thought, you know what, and I thought, do you know what, good for her. You know, and then that's when it all just, it was one of the spikes that got me into kicking my own arse into thinking, right, these spats have got to end. Something has to be done here, because I then thought, right, you're retweeting that out, and I thought that should be a laugh to everybody. You know, it shouldn't be just on sort of from Steve Wraith's side. It should be everybody laughing at that. You know, instead of just, oh my God, have you seen what Holly's just retweeted or Steve's just tweeted out? It shouldn't be like that. It should be like, oh, how funny is that? You know, somebody's mentioned a cult and they're doing t-shirts and stuff. It should all be just a laugh, because at the end of the day, life is too short. You know, we're all going through pretty much crap at the minute with COVID. Hopefully we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel with that. But we have to, and then we can start, you know, Steve said to me yesterday, you know, he said, be good to meet you for a pint before the match. And I thought that was a lovely thing to say, because that's what we need. We need people to be together, you know, united, just like we have in our name, you know, united, and meet up and see everybody face to face, talk about the football like it should be talked about, you know. I mean, Paul says there, am I going to still rant about Cabbage? Of course I'm going to rant about Newcastle. That was me in general anyway. I can't keep my temper when it comes to watching the football. So yes, I'll rant about him. But it just, those sort of things, Holly, in my opinion, should be laughed. Everybody should be laughing and, you know, making a joke out of it all. And that's how it should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, I have ordered a cult t-shirt, which I'll on the show at some point, but I just seen it as a laugh. I never seen it as a dig at you or anyone else. I just thought, like you said, it was just
wasn't a dig at anybody. I think, Holly, you just retweeted out. I mean, to be honest, I might buy one. How funny would that, how ironic would that be, sitting doing videos with a cult t-shirt on, you know? I mean, it's just, that's how it should be, though. It should be, you know, all happy, instead of, you know, we're going through enough crap as it is, aren't we?
Yeah, and certainly being a Newcastle fan at the moment isn't the most uplifting thing. I think that brings everyone down, so any bit of
exactly
it can have is welcome, in my opinion.
Yeah. So if you had a perfect idea of you know, I mean, I know there's you know, there's been spats between everybody and things like that, but I'm talking about these horrible trolls, these racist trolls, and online bullying that goes to the extreme. You know, we've seen football teams today decide to take their players and the clubs off social media because they're making a stance until, you know, they sort out the racism, which I think is the biggest problem of all on social media, is the racism. In your opinion, how do we eradicate these people? How do we get them off social media so that it is a more peaceful place?
I think that it is very, very hard to do, because, of course, we've all heard the point of having ID to make an account, which is a good idea, but I think it would be very hard to do that, because you could obviously get around it by using a fake ID, and Also, how would you give an ID? Because people are saying you could use Face ID. A lot of people don't have phones with the Face ID feature, so then that would be discriminating against people what don't have as much of an up-to-date phone, which isn't right. So it is hard to do. But what I would say, because obviously you can report a tweet, but Twitter often don't really do anything about it. And in my opinion, if someone puts out more than one hateful, personal, targeted comment, that account should just get removed instantly. And it would be hard because it would take a lot of staff from Twitter to do that, but that's what needs to happen because it is having a serious consequence. And I don't think these people realise how much these comments can affect people, because I'll be honest, it didn't affect me too much. Like, I have had worse in the past. Of course it wasn't nice, but I never have made comments about people personally, and I never will do that. Because I see the bigger picture. I look outside of the small online bubble and I realise you don't know these people you're hurling abuse at online. You don't know what they're going through or how low they could be feeling. And your small comment, which you might think is totally just irrelevant, could literally tip that person over the edge. And cyberbullying can kill people. It's something that isn't nice to say or hear about, but it really can. And just please be more mindful and open your eyes and think, this comment might not affect me, but it could affect someone else. And just please realise that, because it's not worth it. And I'd hate to think that I was ever responsible for making someone feel that low, because it's a horrible thought to have.
I mean, I felt, you know, what I said earlier about putting that tweet out saying I'd had enough and stuff like that. It was just that I was getting DMs and they were really, really nasty. You know, they were cutting, saying things like, you know, I bet your kids wish you were dead because all you do is shake all day because of the Parkinson's and stuff like that. And it's ridiculous thing to say, because they don't know me and they don't know how the illness affects me. You know, and I'm able to live a decent life. Yeah, it's a battle every day, but who isn't in a battle every day? You know, people battle with illness every day. People battle with other things every day. Every day is a battle, and I think what I've learned from all this is make the day the best you can. You know, make somebody smile. You know, the Monday night show I do, I mean, it's getting to the extreme now where, you know, I'll be banned off Twitter, I'll be banned off YouTube shortly, some of the comments we're getting. But it makes people laugh. And I think that's what, for me, is all about. Yeah, people enjoy seeing me go on a rant when Newcastle lose, but that's just the person I am. Hard on my sleeve stuff. But I think if anything good has come out of this, it's that, you know, it makes you respect everybody more and have more respect for what you're saying before you type anything, you know, and actually, like you've just said there, you know, think about what you're typing and how it might affect somebody. You know, you might think it is a big joke, but somebody might have been affected by something you're going to type, and they'll come away from Twitter and something will hit them like it hit me the other night, like it's hit you. You know, it affects people in very, very different ways. So we have to be very, very careful of what we're actually typing at times. And that's the lesson I've learned, you know, and I want to concentrate more on football now than I do anybody arguing. You know, I'm just going to stay out of it from now on. And that's the best way for me, is if you don't respond to these people, you know, they'll bugger off somewhere else. You know what I mean? And I think hopefully you've learned that from when you've had those messages about being a racist and stuff, which is ridiculous. You know, jog on, you know what I mean? I think, you know, you've got some very important exams and stuff coming up, which is for your future, which you need to focus on. And that's the most, and I said to you that when we were doing the Thursday night programs when you couldn't come on, and I said, look, stop apologizing for not coming on, because those exams and assessments and everything else that you're doing are way more important than coming onto a YouTube channel. Way more important. You know, you do it when you've got the time and you feel like you've got the time, but people shouldn't be pushed into doing things they don't want to do, should they?
Not at all. And I think that, like what I touched on before, is of course we're all Newcastle fans and we should be working together, not against each other. And I think maybe we could use this whole situation to turn it into a positive thing and all come together and unite and highlight this whole problem of just arguing and pathetic things like that, because it's honestly not worth it. And a lot of people don't know about me, like what I personally do in life and stuff, because I just talk about Newcastle. But will let people know that, like I've said before, mental health is probably the most important thing in my life. It's something I feel so passionately about. That is what I want to do for my career and dedicate my whole life to. I do want to be a mental health nurse, which is something that I'm really trying to work towards, because it just means a lot to me, and especially men's mental health, because I think that in this whole situation as well, I've probably been in the minority. It has been mostly men involved. There hasn't been many women involved in all these arguments, and I just think it's a lot worse for men, because a lot of men feel like they can't. Like, obviously it's a big thing what you've done, just apologise and admit your mistakes, but a lot of men have got this thing where they're like afraid to just accept that they've made a mistake, and they're trying to have this persona. They don't dare say that it affects them when it might be, and it can be hard for them, because it's that old phrase of man up, which I absolutely hate. I can't stand that. And I
think it's a pride thing, isn't it? It's a pride thing with men more than it is women. I don't know why, but it seems to be a pride thing.
It is. It's just they're so scared of like damaging their ego, sort of thing, which is just ridiculous. I feel like society's pushed that a lot on men, and they should feel more open and feel free to talk just as easily as women. It's not easy for women either, which obviously I know, because I do suffer in that way. But what I will say is just, if the online bullying is affecting you or whatever else, then please speak about it, because if one person speaks about it, it can encourage others to do the same, and don't feel like you're pathetic or you're weak for doing that. It's not the case at all, and people will respect you for it.
Yeah, I think that's what got me more than anything. I think is just sort of the overwhelming response I had when I came back onto Twitter on Wednesday, and I seen all the messages and stuff saying, you know, are you okay, and things like that, and I'm here if you want to talk, from total strangers as well, mate, not just from people that followed me. It was incredible, and I thought, wow, you know, again, that made me just, you know, want to put everything right more, to think, do you know what, there's way more good people on this platform and on social media and on YouTube. There's way more good people than there is bad, and just make your peace, you know. And for me, it was just accept I was wrong for ranting, and I was wrong to sort of single people out. And I felt like, you know, once I'd done that, certainly yesterday when I, you know, spoke to Steve and then I spoke to you, and it was like a weight lifted off me, because I, you know, you can type something, but you know, it's different when you actually, you know, speak to someone through it, you know, like I'm speaking to a camera now, you know, but I'm speaking to you. I spoke to Steve, you know, at the start there with me apologies, and I felt like I had to do that, and it's a weight lifted off me. But I think there's a lot more people need to understand how their sort of whatever they're typing in affects people, because like you say, it could have affected you so much differently when you got accused of racism and stuff like that, just because you were wanting to stay on a YouTube channel to talk about football, which you love, and to be accused of that, it could have affected you a lot differently.
Of course it could have, and this is my point. You don't know how things are going to affect people. You can't just assume that they'll be okay, because some people aren't okay, and especially more than ever in this whole lockdown, people are suffering a lot more because they can't get out the house to talk to people. They're stuck inside, and a lot of people will be online a lot more as well, because there's nothing much else to do. I would just like to quickly touch on Steve Wraith in general, because of course he's been quite a focal point in all this. In terms of Steve, is of course everyone is entitled to their own opinion on Steve. If you don't like him, that's fair enough. If, you know, like, that's your choice. Not everyone has to like people. But I did find, like, honestly, I think it affected me more than Steve, that the hate that he was saying. I just thought was so horrible, some of the things that were being said and that I was reading. And it's not just Steve. I feel the same about anyone. That's just in my nature. Like, when I see people getting so much hate, it honestly breaks my heart, because I just think, like, there's no need for that. And from my experience, Steve has been nothing but nice to me. He's been so supportive, and he's not a bad guy, no matter what people will think. And if you don't like him or you don't like his content, then that's fair enough. Just don't watch him.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to send people hate, not just Steve, anyone. Just keep that to yourself and don't put it out there, because it's not necessary, it's not needed, and it's not helpful.
I think that's what, you know, I mean, people listen to other people too much, and I think that is genuinely the problem, that people just take for granted what other people say. And that has to kind of stop as well, because you're getting an impression of a guy that's not really true. I mean, you know, funny thing, a very, very strange thing happened with me yesterday. Is my my ex-wife's current partner put a comment on one of the tweets from Steve when Steve was not so happy with us, shall we say? But he put a tweet on there, and I kind of it pissed me off. I must admit, seeing it. But then I got in touch with him and asked why he put that comment, and he explained and everything, and you know, it made me realize, you know, and just even things like that. I mean, how I felt reading that is just how other people would read, you know, what I'd put or what anyone else would put, you know, without even thinking. And, you know, he took the tweet off, and, you know, because he was more annoyed at what I'd actually said about you. And that's what got his back up the most. And, you know, everything just hit home with me on Wednesday that, you know, I need to sort of just be who I am, you know, not try and be anyone different or try and make a point over somebody else and score points and things like that. I'm not that. I don't want to be involved in that. You know, have I made mistakes in my life? Hell yes. But not now, you know, you know, have I changed over the years? Yes, I have. For the, you know, and I think for the better. And that's why I don't want to get involved in any of the crap going on anymore. I'd rather just, you know, if somebody came to me for advice, whoever it may be, you know, give them it. I could feel like I could turn to anybody now and ask them for their opinion and get an honest opinion. You can give opinions without being nasty, can't you?
You can. I've said I'm more than open to constructive criticism. That's a good thing. It's a healthy thing, but it's just when people take it too far that it's a problem. But of course, constructive criticism is helpful because it can make you develop as a person and be a better person for that. And what you said before about like getting like basing your opinion off what you hear of other people saying, that is the case for a lot of people, and that's where I feel like I slightly differ from others, because my personality is I am very much, I don't have any input from other people. I completely make my own judgments and I don't listen to what anyone else has got to say. Like, if someone that's really close to me and I think the world of them doesn't like someone, I won't instantly dislike that person. I'll make my own judgment. And and I knew that when I decided to stay on the podcast, I would get a little bit of flack for that, which shouldn't have been the case, but I knew that it would happen because I had them probably the least popular view, but I wasn't going to back down from that or just say, actually, no, I'm going to step away just because other people are pressuring us into doing that and making me feel like I was making the wrong choice, because that's what I believed was right for me, and I still stick by that now. So that's what I did. And granted, I got a lot more flack than I expected I would get, but I was always prepared for some, and that shouldn't happen because everyone should be free to make their own decisions in life.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It shouldn't come to the stage where, you know, you want to just unfollow everybody and even come off Twitter. You know, it shouldn't be like that. And I know that there's loads of people say, oh, Twitter's a toxic place. It's a really horrible place. It's not. It can be a really nice place. And I found that out yesterday, you know, when I had all those messages, you know, asking if I was all right and, you know, get your head up and things like that. And then I spoke to Steve and he was absolutely fantastic. You were fantastic. And it just goes to show that there is people out there who actually give a damn and are willing to just move on and admit that people make mistakes. And like I said to you before we came on air, I watched a lot of Steve's stuff before I even started YouTube. So I knew all about him. And it was just wrong of me to do what I did. And do I still feel bad about it now? Yes. And that'll go on for a while, because until I shake the man's hand and have a drink with him, that's a proper apology. You know what I mean? But he's good at what he does. And what I like about Steve is, and believe me, I've had a lot of time to think about this. What I like about Steve is he doesn't backtrack on what he wants to do. And you've just mentioned it there, that you don't take any advice from anybody. You do what you feel is right. And that's what I admire about Steve is he puts something out there and he won't backtrack on it, because if he thinks it's right, he'll stick to his guns. And I think that's how people have to be. I think I genuinely do that. I think people who make their mind up and are set on something and they've got the drive to do it should just go and do it. And, you know, when I've been thinking about this all through, I didn't sleep well at all on Tuesday night. My head was just completely mashed, if I'm honest. And it was just thinking about things and thinking, how am I going to put these right? You know, why have I gone out to upset or annoy people or things like that? And you mentioned it before. Steve takes everything on the chin and moves on. I mean, you have to admire the guy for doing that. You know, is Steve Wraith the perfect person? No. And he won't mind me saying that. Am I a perfect person? Are you? Nobody's perfect. And we will all make mistakes. But the humility that Steve granted me yesterday when I explained what had been going on and why I went off on one and things like that, he understood. And for me, that's the main thing. And I think that more people have to be like that, you know, who've fallen out over silly little things shouldn't be like that, because at the end of the day, if anything good's come out of this lockdown, it's how many people I've got to know through social media and how many people I can't wait to meet in person, you know, to have a drink with and have a bit banter with, you know, everybody going up to the game and interviewing each other for their own channels and all this kind of crazy stuff. That's what I look forward to. And, you know, can you imagine the toxicity of just walking up to the ground when everybody's at each other's throats before we even got into the football stadium? You know, it would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what was worrying me a little bit, because I know the government's plan is to let everyone back for the beginning of the new season. And I was like, if all of these YouTubers and everyone that I've spoke to online is like bickering and we're bumping into each other on the ground, it's going to be so awkward. And when we go back to the games, we just want to have a laugh and enjoy it. We've been away for so long. We don't want to have all this petty stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the worst thing of all. It's petty. And it was petty from my side. It's petty from everybody's side. It should just like get on with each other. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs when a football club has a fan base that just want to attack each other and try and get one over each other all the time. It doesn't make sense. And when I've had the chance to think about it all, I'm thinking, Christ almighty, what the hell? You know, and I don't know. I'm pleased you agreed to do this, because I think it needed to be talked about, not just what, you know, apologies and things like that, but we can speak about what we think is the best thing to do and how to move forward and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, all I want to do is because this is basically what I can do due to me illness. This is what I love doing, and I want to keep doing, and I want to build my own channel. I want to work hard at it. You know, I've bought a lot of stuff for it, and I'm going to keep going. But I didn't feel like I wanted to do that on Tuesday night. I felt like I just wanted to stop, and it should never get to the stage where anybody is made to feel like that.
I think this is the sad thing, is you can feel so put down by all of the negativity that's been going on, where you just feel like you want to give up because it would be easier. And that's so sad when you enjoy something, because things are like, if you enjoy something and you've been enjoying it for a long time, then why would you give up because of a small period of negativity? And it's easy to do that because you just want it to be out of the way and done with. But I think it's important that we do it in the way we have, and we apologise, move forward and continue doing what we love, because no matter what goes on, you shouldn't have to give things up just for the sake of kind of cooling down the storm sort of thing.
Yeah, the thing is as well, it's not just it doesn't just affect the people that are in the middle of it, you know. Other people who come onto Twitter to find out about the football club and you know, are already feeling a bit down and need a bit of a lift, and they see all that going on, it's got to be horrible for them, you know, because they're coming on to try and be cheered up with news about football or have a bit of banter. That's what Twitter should be. It should be all about banter, making people smile and getting the latest news from the football club and talking about it like adults, because there's so many people, like you said, have mental health issues that they'll go onto Twitter and they'll come off even worse before, you know, than they were before they logged on, because of the toxicity on there. And, you know, today has been all about the trust and about, you know, the way they're going about things. I mean, I spoke to Charlotte on, was it last Saturday, about it, so I knew what was happening. I didn't know it was getting announced today, but she'd gone through it all with me, and said, would I be interested in doing stuff on the channel, you know, getting people on to talk about it and explain how it's going to work and everything. So I was open to that. But I think, you know, with the mental health, I would hate to think that somebody had seen all the spats going on between sort of myself or NFTV or Steve Wraith or anything like that, and come off feeling even worse than what they did before they logged on to Twitter, because I would feel desperately unhappy if that was the case.
Well, I got put in the middle of things which I never wanted to happen, because I never felt like it was anything to do with me, but I ended up getting brought in the middle of it because I was associated with different people, which is a bit silly, but it happened. But if I wasn't involved in the middle of it, and of course I'm someone that suffers with mental health, so I can comment on it from that point of view, is that for me personally, obviously I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but for me personally, when you're feeling like low or whatever, or you're just really struggling, and then you go online and you see all this negativity, it just brings you down even lower than you already are. And even if it's not involving you, because it's not nice to see people arguing. Like, if two other people are arguing around me that I don't even know, it's not nice. It doesn't put you in a good mood, because you just want everyone to be happy and get along. And it's not helpful, you know. It does have an impact on people, and even that aren't involved, and you might never imagine that. But if you think about it, when someone is struggling and they're feeling really low, negativity isn't going to bring them up higher. It's not going to make them any better. It's just going to make them worse. So I think people need to be mindful of that as well, and just have those conversations in private and not play it out on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, it is amazing how you think about stuff when you're not actually on there, and you're thinking about how it would affect somebody, you know, just like you said, somebody could be really down. And I mean, Paul made a comment before, I think it was Paul or Ryan, just saying people shouldn't be online if they're affected by silly comments. But people, you know, I understand that, but people also go online to be cheered up, you know, when they're feeling down. If they're on their own and they've got nobody to turn to, you know, that's where social media can come in and be a good help. You know, if they come on and they see good banter going around, they see a lot of laughter, Mickey taking and things like that, and make them smile. Or these kind of shows, you know, just go onto YouTube and watch all the Newcastle podcasters on there who are doing everything they can to make people smile. And it should be all one big family. There shouldn't be any competition, you know, because we all do different things and things like that. But at the end of the day, we all talk about the club we love. And I think that's why some people who are on their own will turn to social media, will turn to YouTube to go on there and just be cheered up.
Well, people are isolated now more than ever, and being online can give them that chance to feel less alone and talk to other people. And personally, like, obviously I don't live on my own, I live with my family, but it still does get lonely. Like, both of my parents are key workers. Obviously I was doing stuff from home, so I was in on my own a lot of the time, and this whole YouTube thing would have never have happened if I wasn't online. And this has helped me a lot in some ways. Like, I know it's been negative lately, but before all that, it was a really good thing, because even like 6 months ago, I never imagined that I'd have the confidence to be able to do this, because I'm always been quite a shy, reserved person. But this has really helped me, like, just talk more and be less afraid to speak out, because like I do have a bit of like a social phobia at times, and obviously things like that. And this has just helped obviously me open up, and it's brought a whole avenue of something that just talking to other supporters. And of course Newcastle's my biggest passion, the same as everyone else that does these channels, and it's just something to talk about common interests, and it's nice to do that.
Yeah, well, I know more than anybody how far you've come on here, because I remember our first couple of Thursday nights, and you're a shadow of what you are now. So you can tell how much confidence you've gained, and that is a good thing. That can benefit you in many ways, not just on YouTube, but in life in general. You know, just changing your attitude to certain things, thinking, right, yeah, I'm going to give that a go. I'm not afraid to do that anymore. You know, and hopefully that'll work for like the assessments and exams you've got coming up, and just think, right, you know, yes, I'm nervous about them. Everybody is. But at the end of the day, I know I can do this. Look at what I've achieved so far, you know, and that can give you a massive, massive kick up the backside and say, you know what, I can do it. And I think that's a lot of people will take inspiration from that. You know, just like the other girls who stepped away from Steve's channel, you know, because of what they believe, you know, good for them. They can be an inspiration to people as well by just sticking to your morals and doing what you believe in. And I think that's what, you know, I said before, that's what Steve does. That's what you do. And that's what I'm going to do from now on. You know, I'm not going to get involved in any of this crap. I know I'm a nice person. I may not have been in the past, you know, I don't know. But I have, you know, as I get older, you do change and you do become a more responsible and better person. I like to think that with myself. So I'm not the type that I don't want to go out and get involved in all this bollocks, basically. It's because that's what it is. It's bollocks. And like I said, I was horrified when I watched myself back on Monday and the things, you know, anger, everything just took over me, but it wasn't just about, it was everything, and it was just boiling up. And that's why, that's not who I am. Yes, I'll rant about Steve Bruce, and Newcastle United, but I will not bring myself to do that ever again, because that is not who I am, and I understand more than anybody the impact it can have on people. And, what I would like to say is that Barry, who is on the Four Horsemen show, he runs he does a show every week on mental health, and I watched it this week, and it was absolutely brilliant. Sam's on there as well, but he had another guy on who was a personal trainer who'd been through struggles of mental health. So if anyone is really struggling, Barry's been through the mill with it. And that's why he does that show. He invites people to come on and talk about it. You don't have to show your face. You can do it by just microphone. And I think that's a fantastic thing that he's doing, because we need more people like that who are welcoming people to open up and talk.
We do, and hats off to Barry. I know that I plan to go on that show at one point. Unfortunately, the time's never quite suited when I was available, but hopefully in the future I can go on that. And it's brilliant from Barry as well, because I know he's obviously been open about his struggles, and just people putting their story out there and normalising it more is just fantastic, because it can really help people to understand that they're not alone. There's other people feeling the same way, because it's easy to feel like you're the only one in that situation. And the same goes for anyone. If you follow me on Twitter or anything else and you need to talk to someone, you can of course message me, because I'm not going to judge anyone, and I'm always open to talk to people, and I wish the best for everyone. And a few things that I've learned in this lockdown is stop trying to please other people, because no matter what you do, some people just aren't going to be happy. You've just got to go with your gut instinct and do what you think's right for you. And hats off to people like you who are big enough to come and own up their mistakes, apologise the same as I've done, because that is a good person. Everyone makes mistakes. That's life. It helps you develop as a person. You can't get better if you don't make mistakes and learn from them. And that's just the right way to go about things. A good, honest person always just admits they were wrong and puts things right. And it's just really, really brilliant that all of that's happened. And also, when you were on about YouTube and stuff, that's another thing that I've learned. Just whenever you've got an opportunity, take it, because you might not get that opportunity again. There's a lot of times when I've been presented with opportunities and I've been too nervous or shy or whatever to do it, and so I've just said no. But now I just try to just not think about it too much, not dwell on it, and just go for it and take it. And sometimes you might not like it, but sometimes it can be the best thing you've ever done, but you won't know unless you don't try. Yeah,
I think the amount of people that are commenting tonight just says how important this is to a lot of people. It's not just about apologies and things like that. It's about people understanding, what people go through when things like this happen. And, I mean, Chip has said there before, about the air being clean, but his last comment was about, we'd seen that the Trust put out that thing today about, about buying a stake at 1% in the club and things like that, and what they were planning to do. Some of the comments I read were just, this is what we're talking about. Some of the comments were just absolutely shocking. I mean, just people just shouting it down. Fair enough, if you've got an opinion you don't think it'll work, that's fine. Put your opinion, or go and ask one of the board members a question, or send them an email and ask them, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? And they've already come out and said, they did a show earlier on answering questions. They are an open book when it comes to this plan that they've got. But again, people doing that, it just, from the hype it came out, and people were like, yeah, Alan Shearer and that have bought into it, ex-players, so, and then to see comments like that, it just puts you down.
Yeah, and all Newcastle fans are just trying to do the best for the club. We all want the club to be successful. Some are going about it in different ways than others, but just get behind them. If they're doing something to try and make the club better for everyone, just support that. If you don't think it'll work, fair enough, but don't hate on them for it. All they're doing is trying to have a better future for Newcastle, and we all want that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like you said, when I asked you about how we eradicate this, I mean, people have talked about having, verification and, can you make it up and things like that, and can you falsify documents? I really don't know. I mean, Twitter is a company that it's a multi-billion-dollar company now, so it's not like they wouldn't have the money to put in to for the staffing levels or whatever software they'd need and things like that. Do you think the likes of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whoever it need to get together, need to get their heads together and try and come up with a solution themselves, rather than us public who use the service trying to give answers to them, when they should be really doing all they can to eradicate this?
They should, but do you know what? I honestly think that in a way they don't want to do it, because one, they'll probably have less users on the platform, because obviously like these trolls and stuff wouldn't sign up to the platform, and no one wants these accounts on there, but they'll make more money the more accounts that are on there. And also I think obviously, for example, when there's more high profile accounts have bits of arguments and stuff, it gets lots of clicks and gets more money yet again for the site. So I genuinely don't believe that they want to, no matter what they say. But that shouldn't be the case, because no matter how much money you're making or clicks you're getting or whatever, people's mental health should come as a priority. So they really need to be doing more. And whether you make them have ID or you just block their accounts if they're putting on vile stuff, you need to do something. You can't just let these people get away with it.
I never actually thought about that. It's a good point you make. That do they actually want? Because all through life you hear that negative news is still good news. Because it puts the companies in the spotlight and it gets them advertisements that really they shouldn't have. So it is a good point actually, because they probably are thinking like that, which is shocking really, because I can't imagine, being a boss of one of those companies, seeing people making racist remarks and things like that, or homophobic remarks, whatever it may be, sitting there thinking, oh, great, we're going to get they're going to hammer us in the media. But to me, that's really good media for me. It's going to make the company more money. I think that's disgusting.
It is. It really is. And there's some massively powerful businesses that'll be owned by very good people who have good intentions, but there's also plenty of them, and social media platforms, I do believe, are guilty of this, that'll do anything for money, no matter who it affects. They don't care. As long as they're bringing in more money, more revenue, more publicity, they're not bothered. Like, if that's negative publicity, but it still gets their brand out there, they don't care. I mean, I suppose it's similar to Mike Ashley bringing it to Newcastle. Negative publicity, he always takes as a positive. He doesn't think it's a negative. So, exactly. Things I'll never understand, but obviously good people like me and you, we think it's disgusting. We would rather sacrifice the money and the clicks and like prioritize people's mental health and prioritize kicking out racism, homophobia and abuse. But these people, they're not bothered about that. They just want a few extra quid.
Yeah, which is disgusting. And I think that's why maybe this whole social media malarkey needs a proper governing body. Like I mean, Ofcom they're the regulator for everything really, but it needs a proper company that can keep an eye on things and make sure that everything is done properly, rather than just all this bollocks week in and week out. And we're all guilty of it along the line, but not to the extreme of racism and homophobia, because it's just wrong in every way possible. There is no right when you talk about that kind of stuff. We've had an hour, Holly. Is there anything else you want to say before we end this show? Because like I say, all the comments tonight have been really positive, and it's nice to see that there's no bitchiness in the comments tonight. There's just a good feeling around, and like I said, it's I had a weight lifted off my shoulders when I spoke to Stephen New yesterday and got everything out and apologized and moved on from certain situations, and it's a huge lift, and I think a lot more people should be doing that, shouldn't they? Just end all the spats, just move on and help each other.
Yeah, and it only takes one person to come forward. Like I said to you, I'll do this show, and then it can get other people to do the same and just sort it all out. It just takes one person. It can be hard to do that initially, but it'll be better in the end. And all I want to say to end on is just, I've had a lot of positive feedback on Twitter as well. Thanks very much for all the support. It's nice to see, instead of all the hate and negativity. Please be more mindful of what you're doing and putting out there, and just think about how it could affect other people. And personally, I've got no grudges with anyone. I wish the best for everyone, and there's no malice in me. I don't want to be involved in any more arguments, hopefully, from now on, and just best of luck to everyone and stay safe.
Yeah, brilliant. Well said, Holly. And you've been an absolute star tonight. I know you were nervous before coming on, but you've come across absolutely brilliantly tonight, I have to say. Thank you for accepting my apology. Thank you for coming on the show. I think we've talked about a lot, and a lot of positive things tonight about just being kind and trying to end all the nastiness that goes on social media. And it's only us saying it. There's millions of people use it. But at least we've said what we need to say. And I think some good will have come out with it, certainly with the Newcastle fan base, because I think the more people that see everybody getting on with everybody else, it creates a really, really good atmosphere. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So thank you very much. And I really appreciate you coming on, Holly. It means the world to us. And hopefully back on the show soon and having a good laugh about the football there.
Hopefully 3 points on Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully so. Right, thanks, Holly, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for having us on as always. Bye.
No bother. See you soon. So there you go. That was Holly, and a really, really, really brave Holly tonight, I have to say, coming on and explaining about her own mental health battles and things like that, which have been really tough. Having a 19-year-old daughter myself, I know what it was like when she was going through her exams when she was 16. Having to go onto medication to help her through it because she was that nervous, and that was without doing all the social media stuff that Holly does, with being online and getting called terrible names just for sticking by Steve, and wanting to be on a podcast, because at the end of the day, it's about want to talk about football, and that's the main thing. That's what it should be. That's why I created this channel. That's why I created my Twitter account, because I want to talk about football, and that's how it should be. Again, to Steve, thank you very much for accepting my apology, and being very, very nice about it. And hopefully we can meet up for a pint soon when all this is over. As should everybody. Just meet up for a pint and talk about the football, talk about how much we hate Steve Bruce, things like that. It's just, it's what it should be. And, if anything's taught me this week, it's been a hell of a last few days, and my head's been mashed over all of this, but I'm glad that it's all been sorted now, because I'm just not that person who wants to be involved in any of that. I love talking about football. I'm passionate about it. Those of you that follow the channel or have been following us know what I'm like when Newcastle lose. I can't hold it in. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I will rant about the football. What I don't want to rant about anymore is anybody's channels, any in particular person. Opinions will always be had. If you don't agree with them, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. If you don't agree with somebody, it doesn't mean you have to fall out. It doesn't mean you have to argue. You just have your opinion and move on to the next one. That's what football's all about as well. You have your opinions on footballers, different players, different teams, but at the end of the day, not everybody's going to agree with you. And that's something that I've really learned the last few days, is to just take a step back, do what you love doing yourself without causing anybody any harm, and just enjoy yourself. And I think that's how it should be. So thank you to everybody that's watched tonight. Thank you for all your comments. It's been really good. And I'm really pleased Holly came on. She was an absolute star. I knew she would be, to be honest. She talks real sense, and she's got an older head on her shoulders than 16, let's put it that way, but she's handled everything so well. Thank you to everybody for the support. Certainly everybody on Twitter over the last couple of days who've messaged me, who've messaged Holly, and everybody like that who's just been there for us. It really does mean the world to me. And thank you for helping me get over 2,000 subscribers as well. It's onwards and upwards on this channel as far as I'm concerned, and with your help, I'll get there. But take care, everybody. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you soon. Good night. Be strong.